topic that we're taking up tonight is the topic of what is the ego and how to become egoless. A lot of people talk about ego. We refer to ego a lot, but actually we use, like with many other things in today's world, in our fast-paced world, we're using words and concepts which actually we may all have different understandings of. Yeah, because words are representations of things. So I think it's good that firstly we clarify in terms of the knowledge that we study here, which is the knowledge of Raj Yoga. We need to clarify what the ego is, because different people have different understandings of what ego is. Okay, so we consider ego to be one of the vices. Right? In psychology, they consider ego to be absolutely necessary and a positive thing. But for that, I would say that then we are not talking about the ego, we are talking about the persona, yeah, or the mask of the face of the person. But that is also ego, but we consider it to be a vice. Now, vice is a very strong word. Yeah? If you think of a vice, what is a vice? Vice is something that a carpenter has in his workshop that he uses to hold something in place. So a vice, in terms of a psychological phenomena, or what is happening for us with the vices, a vice is something that keeps you in the same place. A vice makes you stuck. And we all know that that whole feeling of being stuck is very unpleasant, because we are also caught up in this whole thing about making progress, which is actually also an illusion as well. But a vice or ego is a vice. It is something negative. We consider it to be negative in the sense that it is, it creates chaos in my life. It creates problems in my life. Sometimes the ego, your ego, may not be creating problems in your life, but it may be creating problems in someone else's life, depending on what kind of ego you have. Actually, it's one of 5 vices, and I think that all of you here have done the basic meditation course. I seem to think you've done it, hey Belinda, and Ash, you've done the foundation meditation course. Okay. But you would have been, doing the foundation course, you were introduced to this concept that there are 5 vices, and we put it into an anagram so that you can remember it. It's also, that anagram is a metaphor. So the anagram is algae, A-L-G-A-E. Okay? So I'll explain what algae means, because ego actually comes last, but it should be first. But A is for anger, L is for lust, G is for greed, the other A is for attachment, and the E is for ego. And we consider this, in terms of our knowledge, to be something that is severely limiting upon the soul. It is an energy that resides in the soul. In fact, it's not an energy, it's a construct. Because ego itself is a construct that is based on your current and limited existence as a person. That's why in psychology they talk about a persona. But it's actually a mask through which you operate, because we know that when we leave the body, what is left is the body. And when it is that we are confronted with the death of a person, and we feel sad because they have gone. So the living being, that which was living, that which was the one whom we loved, it's gone. And that's why we feel sorrow, because we know we will never see that being again. Yeah? So that's what happened to Leo 10 days ago. He shuffled off this mortal coil. We will never see him again. Yeah? So, but we have a whole story around, yeah, this persona or this ego. And this is our narrative, our story. And so the whole of our ego is created through the story that has been constructed from the time that we took our first breath in the body, and actually before in our mother's wombs, depending on the conditions of what was going on whilst we were developing. Somebody yesterday was saying to me, actually the ego is, or the mind, she was saying the mind is in the body. And I was like perplexed. I was thinking, how is it possible that your mind can be in the body? Yeah, because the mind it's a subtle thing, and yet the body is very physical. But that is true, because absolutely every single thing that we experience through the body, it gets imprinted on the body too, because of our consciousness. So in a sense, what you were saying is right, because we have memory in these cells. And so when we take birth into a body, and we take birth, we are given a name. We don't come with a name. We are given a name. And that name stays with us. And yet we create an identity around the name. We create the identity around the religion. We create an identity around the upbringing. We create an identity around the political affiliation. We create an identity around the religion. We create an identity around the social status we have, the level of wealth that we have, the connectivity that we have in society. Everything about us is connected to something that is completely temporary. And that is the first manifestation of ego. The fact that we become duped into this illusion that we are people. We are functioning as people, but we're not people. And so as an actor, the role that we're playing in this drama, it's just a role. And this is just a drama. It's a serious drama. There's serious things that happen. There's no doubt about it. But it still is a drama, and it's there for our entertainment. But we take it very seriously, and we are deeply affected by everything in it because of this one big illusion called body consciousness or ego, and that is that I am a body. And so every little thing that happens to us while we're in that body, we're creating a narrative, we're creating a story. We all have a story. Every single person has the most unique story with so much detail. And that's an interesting story. It has interest to us. But the way we take that story is that we allow the impact of the events that have occurred to us in our life to have such an impact on us that we become that story. And then, interestingly enough, we relive it again and again and again. Yeah? We make an excuse. Because we as individuals, we do not know ourselves. We do not know how we function. And we don't know how to command ourselves or conduct ourselves in this drama. Because of this one illusion, that is the illusion of ego. So it's a very serious story because what is going on is that we live a lifelong experience of deception where we are deceived into thinking ourselves into being instead of actually being. Because we're not really being who we are. We ascribe to ourselves things that we are, and we tell ourselves things that we are, and other people tell us things that we are, but we actually never experience who and what we are. So everything about us is a mental construct that is almost like You know how they talk about these very complicated packs of cards? You know, the house of cards. Have you seen how people have done that? This is interesting, this pen going back and forth here. Are you sharing a pen? Oh, my word. That is so cute. Ignatia, there's a pen in the kitchen. You can go get it. It's next to it's next to the phone. You can go get the pen. So this is the thing, is that we have a narrative. I was listening to something the other night by Tara Brach. She's a Buddhist, and she was saying that we have a story and we become very attached to our stories. And all of the things that have happened in the stories, plus the wonderful thing that ego does, because ego is always, we are using ego as an excuse to not be ourselves. And what is that? An enlightened being that is radiant with peace, love, bliss, truth, power, beauty, and generally actually awesomeness. We are very awesome. But we are actually suppressing all of that and holding up a cardboard figure to the rest of the world, thinking that that is who and what we are, and we're not that. We're not that. And the part of the schism that ego creates is, and this is why, Ash, what you were saying, it was a very deep joke we had there at the front door about the yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That bush, as you walk in, you smell the yesterday, and it's spring, and the yesterday, today, and tomorrow is there. But when you walk in, you must connect it to this amazing thing of this teaching that I'm going to give you tonight, because this is the most powerful understanding, and it is the key to our meditation practice, the success of our meditation practice. And that is, there is no yesterday, guaranteed. It is just a construct in our mind, a memory, and it's gone. Why do we have to relive it? Why do we revisit the same thing again and again? Why? Because we are finding something in that thing to blame our current state of disempowerment, our current choosing or chosen state of disempowerment. We are choosing to be disempowered in this moment. And we say, you know why? Because that thing happened to me in the past. And it's a big blame game. We are blaming something that happened a long time ago for we are blaming it for our non-performance in this moment, or our lack of attention to the truth. The other thing we do, some people are stuck in the past, some people are stuck in the present. That also does not exist. The present does not exist. We do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. And yet, our consciousness, our current moment, is caught up in this illusion that there's going to be a future, and also because the future never happens. We're never going to experience the future. You cannot experience a future. There's only one thing that you can experience. And what is that thing? The present, the now. That is the only thing that we can rely on, that we can experience, and that we can say is true. There's nothing else that is true except this moment. And yet, it is sad that we as individual beings, we as entities, we as conscient, sentient beings, we are not experiencing the gift of the present moment. And it is a gift. Now, this is a cliche in pop psychology or pop spirituality. Enjoy the present. It's a gift. But we say that, but do we really actually sit and penetrate the gifts that are in this present moment? Because those gifts are residing, yes, in the situation. We are blessed by the situation. Look how we are here. We are so fortunate. We are able to have lofty thoughts. We have the privilege of of being able to have lofty thoughts. That means all of our other needs are taken care of. We're extremely privileged that we are able to simply have this meeting. And then apart from that, we also have the wherewithal and the ability to understand how to come into the present time, because that is what a meditation practice is, what a sadhana is. It is my ability to experience this present moment. And we're doing it as a system of meditation. So if I'm doing an hour's meditation or 2 hours meditation in the day, that means I'm only really spending 2 hours in the present moment. Because the rest of the time, there is this robotic existence that we are living in, where we are functioning on the basis of our sanskars, our habits. We drive the same route to work every day. Have you ever discovered that you've driven the same route to work that day, but yet you cannot remember having driven that route? And you don't know where your mind was when you arrived? You can't remember. Did you fall asleep while you were doing that? Sometimes we're lost in our thoughts, but actually we're like we are either in the past, thinking about what happened yesterday and who said what and who did what, or we are projecting into the future where we've got to think about the things that we're supposed to be doing. So we have lost the present moment. We are lost it. And this is how ego, this is actually the big tragedy of today's existence. And this is why people are in such trouble mentally, emotionally, socially, physically, spiritually, financially, because nobody is really experiencing. Everybody is working so hard, but so few people are experiencing the gifts that they're giving themselves, because their minds are not in the right place. So this is our work. If we are to become egoless, the egoless state is the fresh state, the clean state, the now state where I am. I am. Not clever, not late, just I am. Where we become the beings that are having a human experience. Yeah, we are human beings. But we are actually beings, and we're having this human experience for a temporary period, for entertainment. Horror stories also do entertain. So this is what ego is doing. It's a vice. It keeps us stuck in that space where we are not experiencing present time, and we are letting the past be a limitation for us, and we're letting the future also be a limitation for us. Plus, we are repeating what has happened in the past because we are replaying those records. Those records are emerging in our jukebox, and they're playing us actually. And because they're playing us, we have given away our power. We are no longer in a position to make choices anymore. We're doing things on the basis of conditioning. So, not to cast any aspersion on animals, but we are living an animalistic or robotic or automatic life. And we're asleep. Because the soul, the being, is not experiencing. Okay, so that is the one vice, the aspect of ego. The second is the sense of self that we take from identity. Ego is built around identity. Who am I? So in this vice, because that construct, that ego construct of this person with a name, religion, all the biographical detail, the career, the education, the level of wealth, the possessions, all of these things, that construct, which is a temporary thing, that construct also then builds in the idea of identity. So it's like the construct is the outer sphere, and the inner sphere of ego is the sphere of who I am in my construct, in my creation, of this creation that I'm busy creating. And this in a body conscious state or an egoistic state, this in an egoistic state is based on what it is that I do and what it is that I have. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. I'm a trained Iyengar yoga instructor. All right? It's something that I am proud of, simply because it's something I never had ever undertaken to do. It was something that was that it behoved me to do. I was called to do it. So it wasn't a choice. It was something that I wouldn't easily choose because it was not easy. Yeah, so you can all have a look at the certificate. I have many certificates, but that certificate is in that room. Okay? It's there so that my Iyengar yoga students know that I'm qualified, because they need to know that I will assist them in making sure that they don't hurt themselves. That's my main thing. I teach them properly, they get the benefit of what they learn, and they don't hurt themselves. Okay, so ego then says, because I'm now building an identity around something that I'm doing, I have that status. Yes, there is a certain status that comes with that kind of thing. It takes 3 years to do, not just everybody gets it. It's not easy to do. All of that, there are these worldly things that are associated with that. So I can, as a person, I can create an identity. Oh, I'm an Iyengar yoga teacher. I'm an instructor. Okay? And so ego is built around what I do. That's what I do. But actually, who is doing the doing is the soul. Right? What is it that enables me to do that thing? Because tomorrow I can have a severe motor car accident and be immobilized and paralyzed and never be able to do that again. Does that mean that I'm going to have an identity crisis? I probably would. If I've taken the ego of it, I will have an identity crisis about the fact that now part of my identity has been obliterated and taken away from me. So for me as a person who is trying to live in an awakened state, I understand that that's a thing that I do. But to really understand what is it that has enabled me to do that is actually my being, who I am. What is it that makes me a good Iyengar yoga teacher? My commitment, the fact that I'm disciplined, the fact that I'm creative, the fact that I love my students, the fact that I'm committed to people's development, and the fact that it gives me such a sense of reward and achievement and accomplishment to see people overcoming their limitations and growing into a fullness of self. So that is actually what I'm doing, but I can do that in any way I want. I don't have to do it as an Iyengar yoga teacher. I can do it as a teacher of young children. I can do it as a mother who raises children. I can do it as a person who works in training people in the business world. I can do it for college students. I can do it for university students. I can do it for animals, because that is my being. And so when I take my sense of self, not from what I do, but from what I am inside, knowing my powers, the strengths that I have, when we take our identity from that which we are, rather than that which we do, nothing and no one can take away who you are. They can't take away your sweetness. They can't take away your clarity. They can't take away your integrity. They can't rob you of your understanding. They can't pocket your enthusiasm and walk out the door with it. They can't do that unless you let them. Unless you give it away, that you let people affect you or make you doubt yourself or rob you of your happiness. So this is the thing that we do. We think, as individuals, this is the whole ego thing. We think that what we do is who we are. And so when what we do stops, if what we are doing is threatened, then we have an identity crisis. Then you know you are trapped in the illusion that you have worth because you do something. And that is a big illusion. Because we're not worthwhile because we can do things. We're worthwhile because of what we are. Because what we are, we bring what we are to everything we do. Human beings don't just have value because they have earning power or they can contribute to a highly industrialized society. We have value because of what is within us, and we don't experience that value because we have only taken society's understanding that our value is in what we do, and then not just what we do, but what we have. Why is it that a lawyer and a doctor get paid so much more per hour than a teacher? Why is that? Who has decided that? Actually, I would say that the teacher. If the teacher were probably paid more than the lawyer and the doctor, we probably wouldn't need the lawyer and the doctor because the teacher has done their job properly. It's one, well, not everywhere, but in this country, one of the most underpaid professions and the most important profession. So in terms of our value is who we are. And we know, according to the study of Raj Yoga, that the soul, we spoke about the 5 vices, the algae, which is that metaphor for that green substance that permeates a body of water and renders it polluted. And that is the same that has happened with the soul, because the soul has 5 spiritual powers or energies or states that it is, that comprises in the receptacle of the soul. There are these 5 powers, and that is peace, purity, power, love, and bliss. And that has been adulterated or polluted by the algae. Now, if you get a swimming pool that is riddled with algae, you don't pull the plug out and drain all the water off and then fill it up with fresh water again. You don't do that, because that is a waste of a good resource. In the same way, we don't throw out or drain ourselves completely to say that we're sinful and terrible, and so we have to throw these things out of our being. And we don't do that. We simply allow the water to come back to its true nature again by removing the algae. And so how do we remove the algae, and especially the ego, is with this conscious self-awareness that is the awakened self, the awakened state. And that conscious self-awareness that is the awakened state is being in the present moment and experiencing yourself as you are, how you are, with no judgment and no preference. And that's what we do when we meditate, or that's what we're supposed to be doing when we meditate. And so the meditation practice itself, it is the rehearsal, actually, for when we take that meditation practice, just as the same way as an athlete practices for a marathon. They take that practice that they've done for that marathon and they take it into the field of doing, and they go and they run their race. So we're in this race or this drama of life. Our practice in the actual meditation itself, when we are being in the present time, is something we then take into when we're busy doing other things. We learn this art. So some people say, well, if you're not thinking about the future, then how is it that you're going to conduct yourself? No, you will know. You will know what to do, when to do it. If you give yourself space and time to plan, you will know. If you sit and you plan your time and your space, then you don't need to think. The person who's written down in their diary their appointment for the day, at which time and what they're doing, they don't have to think. They consult their diary. Their mind can be in the present time. So there's like a very basic thing, like manage your time properly and have something so that your mind doesn't have to think about it. So you can consult, or some people use their cell phone. A very good use of technology. It tells you what the next event is. You just have to look at the phone, then you know what you're doing. You don't have to worry. So when we practice the actual experience of the self, and we're going to do this experience as well, I think that's very important that we do have some experience of it, because that experience, that is the only thing that is going to take you out of all of the traps that you've put yourself into. And we have done that all by ourselves and for free. And it's not something that we should judge ourselves for or feel bad about. There's no question of feeling bad about anything. We do not have to feel bad. It is all good because it is all happening. And even the concept of good, what is that anyway? We have about 8 or 9 different versions of what is good sitting in this room. It's not important. What is, and it is who you are as well. So that is the whole thing about doing. You think what you do is who you are. No, it's not. Yeah? You can lose your job, you can lose your limbs, everything can change in a second. You go home tonight and somebody puts divorce papers under your nose. Anything can happen at any time. You don't know. So what you're doing is not what it is. And then the thing is what you have. Okay, so we accumulate. This is where the greed comes in. What you have. Everything in your home costs money. You're being encouraged to part with your money all the time by a huge system out there that's telling you to buy and to have and to accumulate. Yeah, and you are what you have. If you have a fancy car, then that means you're someone worthwhile. If your home is in a certain area, that means you have a certain status. If you wear a certain brand of clothing, that means that you have a lot of money or a lot of debt. One doesn't know. You're never sure. Yeah. So it's all about the haves. Then for others, it's not about the material things, but how many degrees do you have? Like where I work, for instance, my goodness. Everyone's checking who's got their masters and who's not. How much do you have? Oh, you don't even have an honors, really. You're judged because you don't have an honors. I don't care. Do you? Can you educate these people who are in front of you? Can you inspire them to grow? Can you help them to become members of society? That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in, do you have your doctorate? I don't care. Can you help somebody to change into a fully fledged being? That to me is important, because that's what an educator does. An educator develops people. If you can do that, then you're a professor, you're a master actually, because you're doing your craft. It's not about what you have that's important. It's who you are. And the impact of your being in the world. Is it doing what you were born to do? Is it doing that thing? Because you as a soul have a being that is on here at this moment. You are doing something for humanity. Even if you're the villain, Even the villain, even Zuba, doing what he's supposed to be doing. Everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. The ego says, it should not be like this, it should be like that. This is not world events we're on, because this is where a lot of our ego resides as well. We are so, who heard about the running commentaries for how the Booker should have won the game on Saturday? Yeah? You hear all of these running commentaries. Then on social media, people are saying, like those coaches are saying, gee, I really ought to ask Joe Soap, who lives down there at number 5 White Street, what he thought about the game. You know, it's like, you know. So it's all about this having. Yeah? It's not about having. It's about who you are. And we very seldom experience who we are. We don't know who we are. And that's why we're being sold all of this having and doing. Because we don't know who we are, and we don't know how to be. Each one of us has a purpose through our being. And when we sit and we feel that being, and we feel aligned with ourselves, and we start to feel aligned with all that is, you can call it God, you can call it the Supreme Soul, Allah, Jehovah, Jesus, it doesn't matter what you're calling that spirituality that we're experiencing, that was source that we feel is giving to us. We experience that something is being given to us when we just sit and be. You feel that? Have you ever felt that? When you meditate, you are receiving energy, power, strength, love, bliss. It's adding to your stock. You can feel it is income. It's coming in. It's coming into you, and you feel blessed because you have received something. You've received something actually to give it, because we are giving all the time of our being. Doesn't matter what we're doing, we are giving of our being. All of you tonight, you are giving of your being while sitting here. And stored in you is your inventory of spirituality, and within that is a whole range of the most amazing energies that you may or may not be aware of having. And the self-realized person, or the enlightened person, or the person who is awakened, is in touch with those energies and is allowing them to come out of themselves to have an impact on the world. And the enlightened person is also aware that they have algae that can also filter up and bubble out and come into the world. And they are taking responsibility for that algae, and they are saying, I'm no longer passing on the pollution into this ether for future generations to have to clean up. I'm going to clean up my own mess. And I'm going to give something of value to the world, which is my pure self, my original self, my essential self, my authentic self, the true self, the self that I have been denying and actually starving for the longest time and not allowing to be. And when we do that, we are happy, because that's the only way to be, because we are being ourselves. Okay. So the only way to experience egolessness is to become viceless, to become bodiless. So the viceless state is that state of internal attention on the self, where I am choosing not to act on my algae anymore, where I'm saying that who I am is the soul that is filled with purity, peace, love, power, and bliss. That is who I am. That is who I have been for eternity, and who I'm going to be for eternity. I'm going to start to feel that now and be that, not just in my meditation corner, but when I go out into the world. And I will take responsibility for my algae and remove it. as an awakened being, and I will start to live life the way it should be, which is a celebration. Because ego is not doing us any favors. Ego is a vice. It is keeping us in the same place, like I described at the beginning. It's keeping us stuck. So if you feel stuck, know for sure you are being controlled by your ego. And we have to loosen that control. We are not what we have. We are not what we do. We are souls, and we have to start to feel that and be that out in the world. And that doesn't mean that you stop doing what you normally do. Because in Buddhism they say, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. But before, in a state of ego, we would chop wood and carry water, which is look after our physical life, the persona, the mask we're looking for. We would be doing it as a struggle. After enlightenment, we no longer do it as a struggle. We do it as enjoyment, because what are we doing it for? Not to be a mask. We're doing it so that we can be ourselves, because it is spirit that is incarnated into flesh, and that is the biggest miracle of all, that spirit can know itself through matter. Spirit, which is high frequency radiation of consciousness, descends into low frequency sentient awareness and expresses itself as a being that knows itself. It's a miracle. Because if we weren't in these bodies, we wouldn't know that we existed. And that is a gift that's been given to us. Because even animals don't have that awareness. But we've taken that awareness and we've used it wrongly. We've taken that awareness and we've get stuck in the past to blame, so that we don't have to step up and take our power. And we've taken that awareness and we've projected it into the future, because we are generating or reinforcing this illusory fear that we have to accumulate for the future. Because guess what? We don't live in a natural world that is totally abundant. No, we live in an economy that is scarce. And that's rubbish, because nature is so abundant. There is enough on this planet. That is why we are here. There is enough for us all. So why are we afraid? Yeah, because why? Because we have been taught that we must accumulate more, which is also that vice of greed. We don't need more. So on a practical level, when you go and buy new clothes, if you go and buy new socks, if you buy new t-shirts, if you buy new shoes, if you're putting 3 new t-shirts into that cupboard, you are taking 3 old t-shirts out to keep the balance right. Otherwise, you're not giving space to the new. You're just shoving it in with the old. And that is what we're doing in ourselves. Okay. So pretty much I think you get, that is the message that I was prepared for you this evening. I'd like to do a meditation commentary, and then after that, if anybody would like to ask questions or present their own understanding, I'm very happy for that to happen. So let us do the meditation. So I'm going to speak the meditation. You can just rest your gaze on this point of light at the top there. So it's good to have the legs uncrossed as you're sitting, so it'll be a short meditation. Make sure the back is straight. And rest your gaze on that point. So in this moment, in this present time, we're setting aside the past, we're setting aside the future, and we're coming into this moment here and now. Nothing exists beside this room, the body you're in, and the soul that you are. Relax your feet, your legs, your knees, the thighs, the back, the front of the body, the hands, the arms, the neck and the shoulders, and lastly the head. Also relax your face. And take your attention now into the center of the brain, between your eyes and behind your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. Now with the attention between the eyes and behind the eyes, if you can, with the help of that picture in front of you, visualize that point of light. That is you, the soul. Place that vision of that point of light between the eyes and behind the eyes. This is the true form of the soul. You are not the body, you are the soul. The body is your vehicle, but the soul is the driver. You, the soul, are the master. You are in charge. You are in control. And you are relaxed. You are that star of light, possessing all qualities, possessing a mind and a higher mind. Now step out of the stream of your normal thinking and stand on the side and observe your thoughts. Don't get involved in them, neither the good nor the bad. Just allow the stream of thinking to flow past your conscious self-awareness, the watcher that you are in that moment. Watch your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are the conscient being who is watching and experiencing. You may have feelings in this moment, but you are not your feelings. Just like the waves of the ocean, feelings come and go, but you are not your emotions or your feelings. You are the conscient being. You are the soul. And you are here now. The soul is peace. It has the energy of peace. So allow that conscious self-awareness to dive deep down inside into that point of light and connect with and access. Think of it as a reservoir or spring or well of peace inside. Perhaps you have a picture of what it looks like if you're visual, or you have a feeling, or maybe it's a sound. This is your inner peace. It is your true state. It is what you have always been, and you have been ignoring it for a long time. It is time to feed your inner peace with attention, to nurture it, to encourage it to grow. to allow it to well up inside of your being, to peek out the top of your head and to spill out into the atmosphere. Don't let yourself be taken away by any thought. Just stay in the present moment and feel that flow of peace coming through you. Allow it to settle inside all around you. You can store it to be used later. This is the method to become peaceful. The recognition, the awareness, the remembrance that I am not the body, I am the soul. I am not what I do, I am what I am. I am not what I have, I am my qualities, my spiritual qualities. I am the watcher, the one that observes. I am the soul, and there is deep peace inside of me, which is emerging now. Peaceful being. I am a peaceful being. Deeply peaceful being. And that is why I can say with all honesty, Om Shanti, which means I am a peaceful being. Om Shanti.